everyone, it's Dawn and welcome back. And today we're going to carry on with our series Art for Crafters. And today we're going to be doing something slightly more interesting than the last one. The last one was very basic. It was really for those that perhaps were beginners in that area. But we're going to create an ombre effect. Now, I'm sure you've probably done this before, or if not done it, seen it before, where you've seen the demonstrator and they've got about 3 or 4 different ink pads and they've rubbed it on and they've changed blenders and all that. Well, we're not going to mess about doing that today. We're going to use watercolour, and I'm just going to use one colour and one paintbrush. That's all we're going to use. I have chosen Rose Madder, for those who like to know the names of the colours, and I've already mixed a little up on my palette. It was just over off camera there, and there we are. And all I'm going to do, if I bring it in, then I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just picking up a glob. That's just plain Rose Madder straight out of the tube, and I'm going to mix it like that. And I've got my very pink watercolour here, my water pot, and I'm going to mix it in like that, so it's quite runny, not very runny, but reasonably runny. And I'm going to coat the brush. To coat the brush, just twist it like that, twist it in your finger so you get a good brushful. And we're going to do this in one brushful. Possibly 2, but we're going to try and do it in one. So one brush and one colour. So I'm just going to pop that out the way, and I'm going to move the water jug out of the way, or pot, so that we don't knock it over. So what we're going to do, now I would recommend putting some scrap paper down on your work surface so you don't get watercolour on it. I know it's only watercolour, it will wash off, but it's a lot easier not to have to wash it off than to wash it off, especially if you've got a staining colour like Rose Madder, which means it's difficult to get off. So we're going to one brushful. So we're going to start at the top here, and we're going to just gradually work our way down. And then all I'm going to do, same brushful in a way, I'm just going to take a little more water and a little more paint from, but this time I'm not going to take it from there, I'm going to take it from the puddle of paint we've got there. And we're going to just come down, and it gets slightly weaker. Ombre means we just get weaker as we go down. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Add more water. We're not adding any more paint or taking away anything, we're just adding more water each time to make it paler. So I'm just going to do that and bring it down, go slightly up into the one we've just done, and bring it down like that. And I'm going to do that again. So again, I'm just going to keep adding water like that. And again, we're just going to add it to the same puddle of paint that we've already got there. Pick it up. So we're still only using one colour. And we're going to swoosh it down like that. And we'll probably do that just one more time. So again, wet the brush. And again, same puddle of paint, but slightly more water. So we're just adding more water to the paint each time, really. And this should do it this time. This last brushful should do it. And so we're going from light to dark, top to bottom. You can do it any way you like. You can do it from bottom to top if you want to, or you could even do it on a diagonal. But I've done it like that. You can be adventurous if you want and use 2 colours and blend them one on top of the other, or slightly overlap them. But I've decided to go for that and put it straight on, and I've just seen a tiny bit that's missed, but that's okay. We can go back and flick it off. It does that sometimes. And that is how we create an ombre with our watercolour. That's the simplest way of doing it in watercolour. Just whack it on, whack, that's a technical term of course, with one brush and one colour. And just add more water each time, not more paint, just more water, and it pales out as you go down. Now obviously we don't want to just do that, and already because it's quite warm in here it's drying, and it might even bleed like that, but that's okay, let it bleed, it's fine. Or if you're really worried about that, wait for it to dry a little bit more. And if you do, that's called a cauliflower or a back run. It's because we put wet paint on drying paint. So if that does happen, just wash it over and let it dry out a bit. Now I have got some mats and layers to add to this, but because this is wet, I'm not quite sure how well it's going to perform. It might be all right. So what we've got here, I'll talk you through what we've got while it's drying. I have got a gold mat. Now this is a 5x7 and I have painted directly onto my cardstock. Now if you wanted to, you could cut a separate 5x7, which I've done there. I haven't done anything on it. I did start to paint it, but then I thought, no, let's go for it. So this is just a separate 5x7 mat, and you could paint onto this first if you wanted to, and then attach it to your card. But I decided to go straight for it. I just decided to go for it and paint straight onto my card. And now I've got a gold mirror card mat, which measures 6.5 by 4.5. And that funny pattern you can see, that won't show up when we're done. It's just the reflection of the stand that my camera's on. And I've got double-sided tape on the back. And I'm going to lift that off like that. And hopefully, oh, that's nice and it's drying already. Fantastic. Thought it might do. And now that, if you just get a little bit that pokes over the end of your mat, just fold it in. Don't worry about trying to cut the thing off. Just fold it back on itself and it'll stick. Because it's double-sided, it'll stick quite nicely. And I'm going to do my best. Actually, what I'm going to do just for a second is pull it down. You should still be able to see it, but it's just so that I can see whether it's roughly in the middle. Because I'm using tape, I've only got one chance to get this right. So from my angle, that looks like, well, that looks like it's roughly going to be in the middle there. So I'm going to stick that down and hope that the undercoat is dry enough, or the base coat is just dry enough to stick tape. And it looks like it is. Fantastic. So what I can do now is take my rough piece away so that you can see it better. So I'm just going to pop that down there like that. And I've got a white mat. This is just ordinary plain white card. And again, I've got double-sided tape, and this is just 6x4. So again, I'm going to take that off like that. I'm going to take the backing tape off, line it up as best I can, and stick it down. And already you've got a setting for your focal point. And all I've done is I've cut one of my flower paintings up. I've been brave with my flower paintings, and I've cut them up, and this time I've put it onto some foam tape. And again, I'm just going to peel the backing off like that, decide which way I want it. I think I want it that way. So I'm going to leave that matte white. If you wanted to, you could add a little tone of green, or maybe even a tone of one of the flower colours, but I'm going to leave that white, I think, just to make the flowers stand out a bit better. And I'm going to line that up. If you wanted to put a sentiment, you could add it top or bottom, or slightly higher or lower than centre, but I'm going to add this more or less in the centre and get rid of all the debris so that it's not in the frame. And there we have a very simple but very beautiful ombre effect background and a watercolour card. So I hope you'll agree with me that that's a lovely way of doing things. It's quite soothing, actually. It's quite relaxing to paint this ombre effect, and it's already sticking really well, and it will stand up very nicely like that. And this is a 300 GSM watercolour paper if you're interested in the card that I use, or you could use card if you want to, but I use watercolour paper because I quite often use watercolour paints and some watercolour inks, so I know that that's going to work whatever I chuck at it. So I always use watercolour paper, and I usually use 300 GSM because it's a nice thick card and it'll take any amount of punishment you throw at it. So there we go. This is our watercolour ombre background for our greeting card. So I hope you've enjoyed that, found it useful, and perhaps found another way to make your own cards like this if you're interested in watercolour. Or if you've got watercolours that you use occasionally but perhaps don't quite know what else to do with them. So there's hopefully another idea for you. And when I come back next time, I'm going to be showing you how I use watercolours, again watercolours, but I'm going to use them with one or two of my acrylic stamps, and you'll find out how that works, or even if it works, it should do. So you'll find out what that's all about next time I come back, which will be probably on Friday now. So I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it useful. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying these videos, please do remember to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, then you'll always be informed when I upload a new tutorial. And I'll see you very soon. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, everybody. Have fun. And as always, Happy crafting. Bye bye for now.